Hello, and welcome to the fourth episode of this TEW 2016 save. We are just entering 1986 here with the WWF. In the last episode, we had the Wrestling Classic, where Randy Savage won the tournament. Hulk Hogan won back his WWF Championship, the US Express won back the tag belt, and Wendy Richter won back the women's belt. As you can see, we're now in the 1st of January, and all of the end of year awards have been given out. So what we will say is that none of our guys come close, because if we look at Bob Backlund here, his match history is 83, 16, and 33. And I will say a lot of our guys, I tallied up some of their stats. Some of them don't beat 33, some of them don't even beat 16. Matches in total, never mind wins or losses. So we were pretty far away, but Backlund had a good year. His top 10 matches, 95s, you know. Until number 10, he doesn't have one lower than 90. Yes, a lot of them were with Hansen and Black Bart, who are guys you'll see later in the top 500. But it's still a very good year, obviously. Company, there is New Japan. Then we have Fujinami and Inoki as a tag team of the year. The match of the year is Mele Verno and Larry Zbyszko at CWA in the Dominance Tour. I believe it was in 95. Show of the year was Us, WrestleMania 1. Young Wrestler of the Year is Mitsuhara Misawa. Veteran of the Year is Giant Baba. Female of the Year is Dump Matsumoto. Most Improved Company is the CWA. Independent Wrestler of the Year is Rocky Loki. Never heard of him. What was his matches like? Top 10 matches. I mean, nothing amazing. Did he just wrestle a lot? No. I suppose it's just because he's the one that does those independent shows, I guess, maybe? Strange. Manager of the Year is Bobby Heenan, and Gordon Soley is the announcer. So we back-to-back there, even though Soley just joined us recently. Color commentator, Kusuke Takuchi? Maybe? Probably should have learned how to say these names before I recorded. And the referee of the year is Kyohei Wada. A look at the Power 500 will show you sort of what I mentioned earlier. Top 5 features guys like Backlund, Stan Hansen, Black Bart, Jumbo Tsuruta, Hinoki. And the top 10 is rounded off with Masanobu Fuchi, Bill Eddy, Magnum TA, Tatsumi Fujinami, and Gran Hamada. So like a lot of these guys aren't, you know, they're probably wrestling a lot sort of matches during the year, whereas our guys, we'll show you now, fell a lot. You know, Funk and Zbyszko are the only two in the top 25. Hogan falls the whole way to 36. Piper to 42. You know, Savage is there at 54. You know, Bret Hart's at 101. Andre at 108. So, not great, but our guys wrestle a lot less than the guys who have contracts at multiple companies, so it's a bit of a disadvantage for them there. Misclicked. Storylines. Not all of our storylines have started for WrestleMania season. Hogan, Bundy, and Piper Orndorff have, but they'll probably be on TV. They're sort of almost main eventing different shows, and at the minute, Piper Orndorff is a lot of promo stuff anyway. The women's feud, I haven't really decided who's going to face Richter at Mania, but we'll sort it out very soon, I'm sure. The titles here, we got the IWA tag team titles still active. The Rougeaus will face the US Express very soon, but they'll probably drop their belts. They're both quite low down the card at the minute, I think, as well, so it's not looking like we'll do much with them. Rick Martel was their World Heavyweight Champion, so we just had him drop the belt to Hogan. There wasn't really much we needed to do there. In terms of our heavyweight champion, it's still Hogan. He raised the prestige, actually beating Rick Martel, so that was handy. He probably won't defend that on TV for a while. Tito Santana was able to raise the belt prestige for his IC championship in a 70-night with Terry Funk on TV. King of the or women's champion Wendy Richter has yet to have a title defense, so her belt has actually stayed the same prestige. Whereas the US Express, Wyndham and Rotunda have defended their belt. It wasn't a double DQ when the Rougeos interfered, but a match with them and the South Pacific Connection is always going to be pretty good. The South Pacific Connection obviously being Snuka and Steamboat. I'll show you guys some of the roster after it was asked about in the last episode. I'm just going to flick through and let you guys see if there's anyone interested. You can pause it and some of their stats are there. As I said earlier, I tallied up their match stats for some of them, or for everybody, but some of the interesting ones I'll cover with you guys now. Obviously, Andre, as we said earlier, he's been a bit of a sort of an attraction more than a regular competitor. He only had 11 matches this year, 91% win ratio, but we haven't had a lot of stories for him this year. I think we're probably going in the build up to Mania this year and after, we'll be using him a hell of a lot more, seeing he may end up actually retiring on us soon, because I think he's on our sort of declining page. And I do think that we kind of need to cut the fat after Mania, and a lot of guys will probably be giving their goodbyes. Bret Hart will be someone that maybe after Mania we look to bring an Anvil to try and push him, because he's just struggling with the fact that our two singles champions are both babyfaces, and we have a lot of babyfaces at the minute, so we haven't been able to really have the breakout we would like for him. Brutus Beefcake as well, he'll be in the Titan division. Greg Valentine is back from rehab, so he'll be someone that will push in the Titan division, possibly even giving them a title shot. Cowboy Bob Orton has a really bad win ratio, or percentage. He's at 48% wins. It just happens when, I guess, you're a main event enforcer. He's the one that's been losing to Hogan or to Snuka or to Steamboat, probably even. Cyndi Lauper's away on tour, I believe, so I think she might come back super over. That's how it works, isn't it? So we might maybe find a way to put her back with Wendy Richter, or maybe even, I don't know if she has heel stats. Let's see. If she has heel stats, maybe we could put her with somebody else. No. So, unfortunately, she will probably have to just go back with Wendy and make Wendy more over. D-Boy Smith has got a good push. Really, him and Dynamite should be up for the tag team titles by now, but Dynamite Kid just can't stay clean enough for me to give them a sustained push. So Davey's actually had more matches, I believe. Both have very good win ratios. I think Davey's is somewhere in the 80s and Dynamite Kid is somewhere in the 90s. David San Martino is actually our Iron Man of the year. Not sure how it happened. 46 matches only. Again, as we said, 46 matches for my Iron Man. Compare that to what Bob Backlund had. None of our guys were coming close. Dean Malenko is one of the only guys, I think, with 50-50 booking. 8 wins, 8 losses. But, to be fair, being Larry Zbyszko's sort of protege, I guess, on screen, is working out pretty well for him. I think off screen, he's actually learning from Jerry Briscoe as a prodigy. A lot of the women that we signed from one of the companies we pillaged, some of them will get sacked. They're just not very good, and I could just be using locals, I guess, even though there aren't actually a lot of them. Dino Bravo was got when we pillaged IWA. Don Morocco was unfortunate. We got him the King of the Ring, and then I haven't really done anything with him. He is lined up, I think, to feud with Andre at Mania, and while that'll be a good boost for him, probably maybe putting him back up in the main event, he's not going to beat Andre. But it'll be good all the same. It can, make more out of him in a loss. Dynamite Kid, as previously mentioned, should be in a better position than he is, but I keep having to suspend him, so it slows him down. And as you can see, Greg Valentine is back, pushed to some upper mid-carder, so I think he's actually more over or in a better position now than he was previously. He'll probably be teamed up with the Dream Team, with Jimmy Hart and Dino Bravo and Brutus Beefcake. And maybe he'll get a push again into the mid-card title scene when we get some proof that he's not gonna get suspended on me or need to go to rehab. Hercules Hernandez is just signed. He was someone that I think either debuts at WrestleMania 2 or around WrestleMania 2. So I wanted to get him in. He hasn't actually had a match yet, but he's someone that we might push a wee bit. And if we can get him over, maybe he'll be able to provide another feud for people like Bret Hart or some guys we'll mention soon who are struggling to get feuds to sink their teeth into. Hillbilly Jim has been our sort of jobber to the stars in the mid-card with a really low 16% win ratio. Hogan's had probably a low year for him, 75% wins. His contract, by the way, has been going up massively. I think at the start of the save or something it's 20k, and he's requested a big pay rise twice now. But I mean, 15 wins, 5 losses. A lot of those losses are in tag team matches or 6-man matches where he doesn't take the pinfall and somebody else does. But all the same, he's been pretty protected this year. Jake Roberts is another person who debuts at WrestleMania 2 or around then, I think. So he'll be another person who'll hopefully give us more feuds when we can get them over and put them with some of our baby faces. Jesse Ventura is still in rehab. It's been weird not having him on our commentary desk, as for me writing segments, he works as a good heel commentator to bounce off of Monsoon, whereas now we kind of just have a lot of faces. Snuka's been good this year. He's another person who sort of struggles with the fact that he's not as good as Hogan. So we've just sort of had to sit him out a little bit and let him do some good tag team stuff with Steamboat. And it's meant that really he hasn't taken that many pinfalls recently, I think, because Steamboat's been taking them, but we need to get Steamboat back on the up. Junkyard Dog, again, not had a great lot to do. Did a bit with Big John Studd recently, but it was more about sort of getting Studd and him back on TV. And now we're maybe going to throw him into something for Mania. I think I might have him lined up for Terry Funk, but you know, plans change. King Kong Bundy, of course, is our Hogan opponent for Mania, and he's probably not going to win the belt. He's an upper Carter, but if you look at his popularity line, yes, it's came a long way in the year, but it's not very, like, other than the 87s and the 78 maybe, the rest of it's kind of mid-card. Whereas even if you compare him to someone like, we'll compare him to Snuka first and then Hogan. If you look at Snuka, it's all roughly around the same spot. So like, it's clearly anywhere we go, he can be on this spot on the card. And the same with Hogan. I think it's just maybe because he did indie stuff for a while, Bundy's not all around the same spot. And then if you look at Hogan, like, he blows Bundy out of the water. And he's actually went up a lot in the year when you think about it, even though he at one point dropped the belt. And Bundy's actually got a 90% win ratio, and he is 19-2, so already wrestled more than Hogan. Larry Zbyszko's had an interesting year. Obviously match of the year, but that wasn't for us. And he could be a good Intercontinental Championship opponent for Tito Santana, or if we get it going, even a feud for someone like Bret Hart. Actually, I hadn't thought of that. You could put a 6-man tag together, Zbyszko, Malenko, and one of the tag team goons in the All-Stars against the Bulldogs and Bret Hart, maybe. Even maybe bring Anvil in early and put Anvil in there, so it's Hart Foundation and the Bulldogs against the All-Stars. Something to think about. Zbyszko is actually unbeaten since coming into the company. He has 12 wins, 1 draw, and no losses. But he has a draw because I forgot to check the auto booker after I made some matches, and some big tag team match that main evented the B show went to a draw for some reason. Leonie Kai turned face, had a good year. Not sure what the plans are for her with Mania. Mulla's title reign kind of bombed. Well, not bombed, that's a bit harsh, but didn't turn out how I wanted it to. So we might have to... We've got a very fist-heavy women's division now, so... Someone like Leonie Kai is not really who I think is going to face Wendy Richter at Mania. I think it will be Velvet McIntyre, probably. Linda Dallas joined. the roster when we pillaged one of the first company, and immediately went on maternity leave, so we haven't actually seen much of her. I think she's wrestled like twice. A lot of our Matilda Han was someone who might get axed. A lot of the women aren't very good, so we might cut the numbers, unfortunately. Leilani Cash has a 60% win ratio, which we did not mention when I was going through that. Mike Rotundo, one half of the tag team champions. The Moondogs are people who could maybe get dropped, but they're pretty good as just fodder. Mr. T is away on doing a movie, so he should come back pretty over. I think he's already like one of the most over people in every part of the world, so if he's going to come back more over, maybe some title matches in his future. Orndorff, maybe a bit of a push lined up. Post-Mania. Savage is lined up to face TEW, so maybe a Post-Mania Orndorff Savage if Savage captures Intercontinental Championship. I think that would be good. Orndorff, of course, needing a bit of a better year. He's down at 56% for this year, but as we previously mentioned, Orndorff and Orton took a lot of losses for Piper, especially when Piper was away, being suspended, or as I believe we probably said in kayfabe, on holiday. But what can you do? Orndorff probably going to get a bit of a push in the new year. Savage is suspended at the minute, unfortunately. Seems to have a lot to mean this. They've pushed certain guys and they just have drug issues or steroid issues, or they're high. So we haven't been able to use everybody to the best of their ability, but, you know, Savage will compete at Mania and will probably be in the Intercontinental title match with Tito Santana. And at the minute, he's actually unbeaten. He's only had 8 matches, though, but he is unbeaten. So I don't think we can complain. Rick Martel actually was the IWA's World Heavyweight Champion. I believe he has a tag team partner. There's a Tom Zenk or somebody like that, who we might look into getting. And it's quite strange because at the start of the save, the tag team division was kind of barren, and we may end up actually, after this Mania, with a pretty big tag team division who we could get some good title feuds out of and some non-title feuds out of. Ricky Steamboat, unfortunately, hasn't had a great year so far. I think he's a 62% win ratio or something like that. He wasn't one of the ones I wrote down, but we really need to get Steamboat a few wins just to push him up the card again. Maybe for future matches with Savage or Morocco, even tag team stuff with Snuka. Piper, for the year he had, didn't wrestle a lot, 62% win ratio. And although he got really over, I'll show you his popularity right now. You know, at one point he was peaking 90s, and like we had him at 90 and Hogan at 90, which I was pretty pleased with. But with Piper being unreliable after Mania, if he gets called up on it again, I might send him to rehab, and hopefully he could come back better, because he's getting, you know, great ratings on promos, entrances, matches, and he's high all the time. But the problem is, after the match, you know, whether it's a tag team match or singles match, there's somebody important really annoyed at me because Piper's working under the influence. So hopefully after Mania we can clean up his act a bit. Steve Lombardi, I believe, actually has a 0% win ratio, just been jobbed out. Terry Funk will probably fall into the Intercontinental title scene, although he is managed by the same person as King Kong Bundy, so maybe a one-off title match with Hogan if I can swing it on TV. Funk's had a good year, so a match with Hogan could raise him up a bit. Mila was unfortunate in her title reign, wasn't that good. Haven't edited, as you can see here, the editor notes say that they gave her the wrong birth date. I might fix her birth date soon, maybe before the next episode, and if she retires, she retires. We do kind of need her because she's one of the only heels of note, and off screen she is a negative influence, but has 2 proteges in the Magnificent Mimi and Wendy Richter. But she's making Richter a better heel, but Richter's not quite there yet that we could turn Richter heel and have her sort of be the head of the division there. But at the minute I'm fine with her being the face of the division. There's Magnificent Mimi. Not very over. I think she has some good entertainment stats, did she? Yeah, like a 90 sex appeal, 70-star quality. She could grow okay, and she's got good stamina. So if we could get something there for her with Mula before she retires, maybe we could have a contender there. Tito Santana's had a good year so far. He has an 84% win ratio, obviously 6 defenses of his Intercontinental Championship. And if Hogan wasn't world champion after this title reign, we'd funnel Santana up. But we'll see what happens. A good run in King of the Ring after his Intercontinental Championship reign could do good for him. But again, we'll sort of see when we get there. A lot of sort of more jobber guys in here. Velvet McIntyre could be the choice that we go with for competing with Wendy Richter. I think it will be. I know face versus face matches didn't really happen much back then, but I think this could do good. And I think it'll probably be where we go. They had Moolah versus McIntyre, but I believe in real life Wendy Richter had left the promotion by then. So it might have kind of been their only option, whereas we still have Richter. So it could be an option there. I wonder I don't want to just turn people to keep Wendy with fresh opponents, but obviously we'd be losing Velvet as the sort of B face, and I'm not really interested in that. And of course Wendy Richter, who is the Iron Woman for this year, and actually at 29 matches has more matches than a lot of the men, more than Hogan and Bundy, who will be main eventing WrestleMania. And she actually has an 86% win ratio. So and actually a pretty good year for her. And then Winner Little Heart is the last person. And she's just a pay per appearance jobber. In terms of the rest of the wrestling world, the companies you'll probably be interested in for this time period, All Japan, this is their champions. I will flick through it. I don't know a lot about All Japan in this era. Just what Joseph Montesillo has been showing in his videos, although I think they're in this time period, I'm not 100% sure. See Kawada, then Saruda, who was one of the names mentioned, I believe, in the Wrestler of the Year conversation. Giant Baba there, Stan Hansen. If we skip through this, down to Gorgeous Wrestling opened, known probably now more to people for the Netflix show. Their champions are Americana and Big Bad Mama. Don't recognize any of them. I think some of our women work for them now as well. Jim Crockett Promotions has Magnum TA as the US champion. 6-man tag belts, Ricky Morton, Coyote, and Khrushchev. Not a fan of 6-man title belts when the AI book them, because they just book random teams. Even like, you can have a tag team holding tag belts, but one of them will hold 6-man belts with completely random dudes as well, so it's just quite a weird thing. TV title, Dory Funk Jr. Mid-South, Black Bart, someone who was listed in the top 5, I believe. Buddy Rose and Ron Bass, and in the Mid-South, television champion Stan Lane. New Japan's titles. Oh, they've actually recently had Inoki lose a belt. Not familiar with Fujiwara that much, probably should be, judging by his name. Hiro Saito, Akio Saito, and Takashi Ishikawa. And then they had Mighty Inoue and Gran Hamada win the Tag League, and the J Cup was won by Kobayashi. Probably one of the last ones we'll look at. Maybe not actually. We'll not look at All-Star Wrestling. We will look at just WCCW, because we know where that ends up. The American Heavyweight Champion, the Masked Superstar. American Tag Team Champions Sika and Hector Guerrero. Gino Hernandez, Hernandez is the Texas Brass Knuckles Champion. Texas Heavyweight Champion, a pretty perfect Kurt Hennig. Television Champion is Jerry Lawler, and the 6-man Tag Team Championships, as I previously mentioned, bit of a mess with Sika, Buddy Roberts, and Jerry Lawler all holding the belts. My question of the episode is actually, who do you think should be at this time, based off of what they've done, I guess in real life at this point, should be in our Hall of Fame? No one comes up when I check for eligible candidates, so we could have someone in the Hall of Fame for this Mania, but I'm not sure who I would be interested in putting in. I don't want anyone to still competing. I think I'm done with San Martino, so maybe he could go in. But again, any suggestions would be more than welcome in the comment section. Thank you guys for checking out this episode. I know it's been, I think, a week since the last one, and hopefully Mania 2 will actually come out a bit quicker than this video has. Okay, thank you, like, subscribe, come back next time.